Why most rehab fails serious athletes isn't because rehab doesn't work. It's because rehab was never designed for serious athletes in the first place. And if you're someone who trains hard, competes, or performs at a high level, this video is probably going to explain a lot of frustration you've already felt. Because I see this all the time. Athletes who are disciplined, athletes who do the exercises, athletes who rest when they're told. And yet, the pain keeps coming back. The injury never fully resolves. Or, the moment they return to real training, everything falls apart again. So today I want to explain why that happens, and more importantly, what's missing. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most rehab is designed to get people back to normal life, not back to elite performance. That's the first failure. Rehab works incredibly well for the goal it was built for, getting someone out of pain, functioning day to day, and back to basic activity. But serious athletes don't live in that world. You're not asking, can I walk without pain? You're asking, can I train hard, repeatedly, under fatigue, without breaking down? Those are two completely different problems. And yet most rehab treats them as if they're the same. The second reason rehab fails serious athletes is it focuses on symptoms instead of capacity. Pain goes down, rehab says you're doing great. Range of motion improves, green light, strength test passes, you're cleared. But pain relief is not durability. Temporary improvement doesn't mean your body is prepared for real stress. What most rehab never asks is, can your tissues tolerate the volume you're about to expose them to? Can your nervous system handle chaos, speed, fatigue, and contact? Can you absorb force, not just produce it? Because serious athletes don't get injured during slow, controlled movements in a clinic. They get injured under pressure, under fatigue, under unpredictable conditions. If rehab never trains that, it didn't finish the job. And the third failure is this idea that rest equals recovery. Rest can reduce symptoms. Rest can calm things down. But rest does not rebuild capacity. And serious athletes don't break because they didn't rest enough. They break because their tissues were never prepared for the stress they return to. I've seen athletes rest for weeks, feel better, then explode their symptoms within days of training again. Why? Because nothing about rest taught their body how to handle load. Load tolerance is trained. It's not gifted. And if rehab doesn't progressively reintroduce stress in a smart way, it creates a false sense of readiness. You feel good until you don't. Another big reason rehab fails serious athletes is it ignores the psychological side of performance. Most rehab treats fear like a side issue, but fear changes movement, fear changes timing, fear changes effort. An athlete who doesn't trust their body will subconsciously protect it, and that protection pattern often becomes the next injury. Elite rehab isn't just physical, it's about restoring confidence under stress. If an athlete can't move fast, aggressively, and decisively without hesitation, they're not ready, no matter what the checklist says. Now let me say this clearly, because this matters. This is not an attack on physical therapy. I am a physical therapist. Rehab is essential. Structure matters. Progressions matter. The problem isn't rehab itself. The problem is stopping rehab too early and mistaking feels better for ready for performance. And so what actually works for serious athletes? First, rehab has to shift from pain management to capacity building. The question isn't, does this hurt? The question is, how much can this tissue tolerate today? And how do we increase that over time? Second, rehab must transition from controlled environments to chaotic ones. Straight lines don't prepare you for real sport. Predictable movements don't prepare you for chaos. If rehab never exposes the athlete to speed, fatigue, and unpredictability, it didn't prepare them for reality. Third, elite rehab respects the athlete's identity. Serious athletes don't want to be fragile. They don't want to be cautious forever. They want to be capable. When rehab aligns with that mindset, athletes buy in, move better, and recover faster. Here's the biggest mindset shift I give my athletes. Pain does not automatically mean damage, and no pain does not automatically mean readiness. Understanding that distinction changes everything. Because once an athlete understands how to interpret their body correctly, they stop bouncing between fear and recklessness and start training intelligently. That's when injuries stop repeating. So, if you're a serious athlete who feels like rehab helped but didn't solve the problem, you're not broken. You were just following a system that wasn't built for your level. Elite performance requires elite preparation, and rehab has to evolve beyond symptom control into performance resilience. If this perspective helped you, let me know in the comments. And if you want to understand how high performers actually train around injuries without losing progress, that's what this channel is about. Because getting out of pain is one thing. Staying dangerous is another. I'll see you in the next one.